Hi, and welcome to this episode of my Intrepid 4x5 journey. And in this episode I'm going to talk to you about this thing, which is my tripod. A little bit about the tripod and a little bit about how potentially it might have saved my life at one point in the past. And I'm not entirely joking when I say that, so I'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, let's go on with talking about the tripod. So the reason that I'm going to talk about the tripod is that in my earlier video looking at accessories, I didn't mention the tripod, I don't think, and Mark Owen-Ward made a comment saying that I'd missed that one, and that's true, I had missed it. So I thought rather than just put a little bit about the tripod in the comments, I'd do a video about it. So in terms of 4x5 photography, I think most people probably do use tripods these days. I think that's the common way of using a 4x5 camera, and obviously traditionally it is a very common way of using them as well. It's not always been the case that everybody has used tripods. I mean, I think if you go back and look at maybe press photographers that used to use this style of camera, they didn't use tripods. But I think for the most part, a tripod is probably a must-have, or pretty much a must-have accessory for 4x5 photography. So my tripod is this one. It's a pretty old tripod now. It's a Manfrotto, what is it, 055 MF3 mag fibre. So I think it's carbon fibre legs with a bit of magnesium as well. It's a very old, quite old style as well. So the legs have the these sort of clip styles rather than the twist style to unlock them. Still perfectly serviceable after all these years. As you can see, there's a bit of corrosion, but I do keep it clean every so often, put a bit of what's it called? A bit of oil on them every so often, just try and keep them clean. In terms of the tripod, so it extends on the legs. It also has a central column which allows the top of the tripod to extend. On this particular model, you can unscrew that central column so you can get down very low, which I've done occasionally, and you can also take it out actually and run it horizontally, which has been useful occasionally in the past. I've not used that very much, but yeah, it's a good flexible tripod. It's starting to show its age a little bit now. I mean, the spirit level went years ago, but what I'd say about this is for sort of for 4x5 photography, just like any other sort of photography, really, if you're looking for a tripod, just try and buy the best one you can. Don't skimp on your tripod. There's nothing worse than having a tripod that vibrates with the slightest breeze. You've got something good and sturdy. So that's the legs. So tripod's no good without some sort of head usually. So I've got a ball head on this, which is another Manfrotto bit of gear. In this particular ball head, you can rotate and obviously move the head around, and it has a little cutout to let you go portrait as well. This particular ball head weighs an absolute ton. It's possibly even as heavy as the actual legs themselves. So I mean, I've used other styles of head in the past. So I've used sort of geared style heads as well. At some point I decided to switch to this min because I've seen so many people reviewing these sorts of heads and just saying how good they were. And yeah, they're very flexible, very quick, especially if you've got a DSLR, because you can basically hold the DSLR and move around, especially if you sort of brace yourself a little bit against the head. You've got lots of very fine movement and you can do things very quickly. I don't find it quite as useful for 4x5. I think there's perhaps just the shape of the camera with a 4x5 camera and the actual physical size just makes it a little bit more difficult to work with a ball head. So I may well switch back to a geared head at some point for this sort of style of photography. In terms of the attaching the camera to the tripod, as you can see, I don't use a standard Manfrotto style connection. I've got one of these Arca style plates. Let's just undo that. So just a little plate like that, it just fits in, and you've got some flexibility to move it around. I've got the screws in which limits here how much you can move it around, and then you just basically tighten it up, and then it's locked. I mean, to be honest, the plates, it's just personal preference. I prefer to use these. Any plate's as good as any other one as far as I can tell. I mean, that may not be true in all cases, but yeah, from my experience, I don't think anyone really has any particular advantage over any other one. These are very cheap once you've actually converted to this, so I've got loads of these and attached to well, quite a lot of different cameras that I've got. So that's the that's basically the tripod. So to carry it around, I see they're over my shoulder, or I'm using its little strap. I also make use of this thing, so these are quite useful. This is a strap that's specifically designed to attach to the top and bottom of your camera. It just means then you can just walk around with the actual tripod strapped to your back, sort of like that maybe. I mean, I tend to do it with the weight at the bottom, with the head at the bottom. Make sure I don't bash the wall. We're actually on holiday in Croyd in Devon in the UK, which if you've not been there, it's a lovely part of the world. But yes, I don't really want to smash up this this holiday apartment. So yeah, so I use that strap quite a bit when I've not got a tripod. Right, what else to say about this? As I said, it's quite old. So at some point the feet came off. So Kim had the bright idea of replacing the feet with these sort of rubber stoppers from walking sticks, which actually much better than the original solution that was on the bottom of the Manfrotto tripod. These stick really well to the ground, give you quite a lot of good grippy support. You can also see a bit of repair in here. This is a bit of gaffer tape I've put on because basically this leg is split. And I have, I mean, it still works perfectly well, but I have thought about replacing this, getting a more modern tripod. But I do have a slight sentimental attachment to this one, which I know is weird for a piece of gear that I have a sentimental attachment to it, but it comes back to what I said at the start about saving my life. So what happened there was that Kim and I were up in the northeast of England, on the Northumbrian coast, and we were taking some photographs at a place called Dunstanburgh Castle. And if you've not been up into that part of the world before and you're into landscape photography, definitely recommend it. It is a lovely part of the world. You've got the whole contrast from like north of Newcastle, where it's a little bit industrial, all the way up to these lovely deserted beaches with castles all the way up the coast. I think most people probably heard of Bamburgh Castle, but Dunstanburgh Castle is also really popular with photographers. And we were up there taking some photographs from the north side of the castle, looking south towards the castle. Beautiful bay there. Part of it's quite rocky. So these big sort of, I think they're sort of basalts, something like that, boulders, but they can be very slippy. I might have been to a photograph of that location, so I think it was actually taken at the time when this event occurred. And I was walking back across the top of these boulders, got my rucksack on, my big rucksack, and this thing attached vertically to the back of the rucksack. I slipped and just went flying backwards, and this stopped me from going down between the boulders. And the reason I think possibly it saved my life is that I'm pretty sure that if I'd have gone down between the boulders, I'd have cracked the back of my head, potentially cracked it open on those boulders. So yeah, I like thinking it saved my life. Maybe it didn't, but yeah, it's sometimes tripods have multi-uses. I mean, other uses they've got, which is not really tripod related, is it's a good walking stick at times, trying to get yourself across rivers and that sort of thing, or where you need a bit more support. But yeah, definitely recommend getting a tripod if you don't have one. Anyway, I'm almost at 10 minutes, so I'm going to wrap up there. I hope you've enjoyed this. As usual, if you've got any questions, then please leave them in the comments below, and I'll either try and answer them in the comments, or I'll do another video about it. Anyway, I know this wasn't really 4x5 related, but I'm just trying to, obviously it's a bit of a gear related video, but as somebody asked then, I thought it's only fair to do that explanation. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.